Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Future Net Zero Insight with me, Kieran Bowes. I'm delighted to say that today I'm joined by Caroline Carlin from Southampton Football Club in the Premier League, and you're the Sustainability Manager.
Hello, good to be joining you today. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So I think really the main question to start with here is, what is Southampton doing to become more sustainable as a football club?
Well, I think it's fair to say that we've been on a bit of a journey, despite being a cliche, I know. In the last couple of years, we've gone from being a club who was doing some good work in this space, but not in a strategic way. So when Sport Positive, who create a sustainability league table for the Premier League, came knocking our door for some kind of information about what we were doing. We didn't have loads of information to share at that point, didn't have a strategy to really refer back to and context for the sustainability work. So unfortunately, at that time, since it's 2019, we came 18th in the league table, and it was quite the eye opener for us. It was something that really shone a light on a really important area that, as an organisation and such a large organisation in our city, we really needed to get to grips with and start having a much more strategic approach to sustainability. And out of that kind of placing quite low down in that league table, it kind of really helped us to shape our direction going forward. And since then, we formed a sustainability group, which is comprises of 3 board members, which is fantastic. That certainly helps to have that sort of support from leadership level. And then we've been able to create our sustainability strategy, which is called the Halo Effect. And the Halo Effect is a sustainability strategy that is people and planet. We had initially been looking very much down the kind of environmental strategy route, but had quite a lot of feedback from kind of trusted partners and people that we had asked for some support along the way. And we realised that we weren't being ambitious enough. So we decided to create a more holistic approach to sustainability. And so the Halo Effect has, of course, environmental responsibility, but also our corporate, social and fan responsibilities for such important areas of our business and the way that we operate, that we're already doing some fantastic work with our due diligence processes, our amazing work through Saints Foundation, and working with them. And then, of course, our support and working with our fans and fan engagement. So just really bringing that all together under one umbrella of the Halo Effect to help us have a much more strategic approach, really. You know, it enables us to have people in the club who have accountability in this area. They understand the direction we're moving in. It's context for the projects that we work on and the decisions we make as a business, how we interact with our fans, our partners, suppliers, staff, players, everyone that's connected to the club. And so with the Halo Effects environmental responsibility, that's an area that in my role I coordinate that as part of my operations and sustainability position here at the club. And so as part of the environmental responsibility, we've been working on really starting to get to grips with understanding our carbon footprint and what steps can we take and are we taking to reduce that and mitigate against that. We have areas of work around biodiversity and educating. Also, education and engagement is something that underpins the whole strategy, because really and truly, to have the impact that we have the potential to have, we must share our story, we must talk about what we're doing and really hopefully inspire others. We're also looking at our energy and water use and resource use, and how to find efficiencies and make efficiencies wherever possible. And then equally, an area that is a focus all the time, and I find myself talking about bins a lot, is waste management. You know, we, as a stadium, and even on our day-to-day, we're a conference and banqueting facility as well. We have hundreds of staff across our sites. We create a lot of waste, and it's making sure we're responsible with that. Where does it go? How do we separate it? Are there opportunities to have less impact there? And so we follow the waste hierarchy as much as possible. And again, educating around that and making sure the correct signage is in place. So it's been a busy couple of years. It's something that is a work in progress. And the last year, the halo effect saw us rise up to 6th on the Sustainability League table, and this year we were joint 3rd. So even though Sustainability League tables and any league tables measuring that sort of performance are just a guide, for us it was just, oh my gosh, it was just amazing because we thought we're going in the right direction, absolutely. The work that we're doing has been recognised, which is really, really rewarding, obviously, and it's motivated and inspired people to just get on board and join us on the journey. So it's been a really exciting couple of years, but there's still work to do. And over the next kind of 8 to 9 years, up to our 2030 goal of carbon neutrality, we have a planned approach to the work that we're doing, the infrastructure that we need to be including into our buildings to be able to reach that goal. So it's gone from being kind of a bit piecemeal, bits and bobs going on here and there, to being a very strategic approach with everyone on board. So yeah, it's been a really good couple of years.
I was going to say, as a football club, you might not want to say that league tables are just a guide, but in this case,
yeah, no, best not go too much into that. I definitely think from a sustainability league table point of view, I was really focusing so much on that as a real guide, and then I kind of was overthinking it, and people, it's just a guide, but you are right, on the pitch that's not necessarily the case.
I mean, in terms of the progress that you've made, we recently did a piece actually covering how Premier League clubs are looking to become more sustainable. And Southampton was actually one of a select few clubs that has set a net zero target. So I'm sure that, that's something that you guys were really focusing on. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, maybe elaborate on that a little, as well as, I guess, from the kind of outside point of view, when people think about a football club and how it runs, you might think, it's in terms of an environmental side. I wonder where that would be, if you could give more of a point of view on that, because we know about travel to games and, as you say, the fans, maybe the waste that fans incur, and how can a club make an environmental difference, not just in terms of its waste?
I think it's just really being quite vocal about your purpose in this space and how much you're making that commitment. When we launched the Halo Effect, we made the decision for it to be quite the public, really, public launch, something that we pretty much shouted about with total pride. This has become a core part of our identity. It's something that everyone's really familiar with now within the club and who's associated with the club. And it's in our agenda. It's in our agenda for every meeting. It's in the discussions for every budget call, for every project. It's in discussions when we tender for contracts. It's something that is a part of who we are, and that has resonated throughout. And I think you can have impact anyway through making changes to your operational activity. But in order to truly, and that's any sports organisation, any organisation, I think, can have impact if they start, really focusing on, reducing their energy use and managing waste, like we just said. But to really have the impact that a football club in the Premier League, with such a global reach, so many pairs of eyes, and with these, role models, you absolutely need to embed sustainability everywhere, because there's no point really in one area of the business doing some sustainability work, but everyone else isn't on board, and then it doesn't really ring through to everyone. It doesn't. The halo effect is that ripple effect. It enables us to talk about the halo effect, to refer to that in all areas of our organisation, and it gives it that authenticity and shows people that we really mean it. It's not just words. It's not a tick box. It is, we are committed to this, and everything we do now means that we bear sustainability in mind in all our practices. So with other football clubs, I guess they'll all be at different stages of their journey with that, and that will be very much a leadership decision for them to see where they want to be. There's other clubs that are doing super well and loads of work and have put lots of resource towards it. There's other clubs who haven't at the moment been able to prioritise, but I'm kind of expecting to see a bit of a shift there since the Premier League signed up to the UNFCCC Sport for Climate Action, which has a Race to Zero pledge. and the fact that several Premier League clubs had already independently signed up to it, like we had. But now the Premier League have, as an organisation, I will be sort of anticipating a lot more messaging around this and a lot more of a focus on sustainability as a league entirely. So it's going to be a very interesting couple of years ahead, I think.
I think you're definitely right, and as you said, everyone's in their own stage of the journey. But as we cover fairly often on this platform, I think the first step is just taking any step, and it's great to see that even as you say in the last sort of 3 years, the distance that you've travelled on this journey as well. I kind of wanted to ask actually. Southampton is a one club city. We have a few throughout the country, but a lot of clubs actually have two for the city. So I think it's a little more rare when you get one that's just in one part of the city. How do you think you can promote climate change and like the climate conversation for the city itself? And is that kind of something that the club really wants to focus on?
Yeah, definitely. In 2018, we signed up, we became a founding signatory of what was then called the Green City Charter, and it's now called Our Greener City. It's essentially a Southampton City Council led initiative around a net zero pledge, actually, with several commitments as part of the charter. And ultimately, it's about becoming a cleaner, greener, more sustainable city for its residents to enjoy life and thrive. And, we as founding signatories, because we're a large organisation in the city, and I say with quite the platform as well, it's such a responsibility to be part of that. And other organisations in the city signed that founding pledge too. And so it's in real alignment with our sustainability strategy to do that. So we have spent the first couple of years obviously working to put our house in order behind the scenes, and that's been a real focus. However, there has already been some fan engagement pieces around reducing single-use plastics. For example, on the concourses, fans are given a reusable cup. There's lots of messaging around how we separate our waste. We're turning our attention more to fan travel in the coming seasons because we recognise the impact on Scope 3 emissions for us. It is quite the impact on our carbon footprint, and that's something we need to work collaboratively with our fans on, and
Yeah.
staff and players. And then also there's some fantastic initiatives such as the Homegrown Initiative, where we plant 250 trees in a Southampton school every time an academy player from our women's or girls teams make their senior debut. And
Oh,
that has
wow.
been a fantastic project. We also preserve 250 in the Amazon. So for us, that preservation is key. That's something that we really, really need to protect. However, for a legacy for the city, and as in line with that Green City pledge, we are now planting these trees in a local school with the children, educating them about biodiversity, celebrating an academy achievement, which is a core part of the Southampton Way. And those trees will grow on to provide privacy screening, absorbing emissions, creating habitats. They're going to be shielding from noise. There's so many benefits to planting those, and we talk that through with the children. We're actually planting some next week at a local school, and every child is going to plant a tree, and it's engaging them with nature. Another important relationship for us is that with Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust, and we've committed to being part of their initiative called Team Wilder. And that's all about engaging 1 in 4 people with nature. And so
Yeah.
by the Homegrown project, being able to connect these children with nature and being in that space where they're planting. And there'll be things in future, some fan initiatives involving, wildflower seeds and things like that, that just really is helping to show the importance of biodiversity and biodiversity loss being such a big issue to talk about. We've just put some trees around the stadium, which is in a very, very grey, industrious kind of location. We literally overlook the
Yeah.
cement works.
I've
Um,
been to the stadium.
then it's quite grey. So, we'll be looking to add more green as time goes by in a phased approach. But there's limitations. We are next to gasworks. We do have a cement works. And yeah, that has to be in a planned way. But at Staplewood Training Ground, which is where our first team and academy are based, we do have loads of biodiversity work that's been going on over there. It lends itself well because it's next to the New Forest, but We've been creating log pile houses. We've left our non-playing grasses left completely wild. We have our hedgerows are left completely wild. So, and we've got little signage dotted about, so we kind of can educate visitors and staff and players about why we're doing that and what that's for. And that's been a really lovely piece of work that's ongoing, because really wilding up your areas and creating these habitats is so important. And actually anybody with any outdoor space could try something like that at home. Even we
Yeah,
tasked a
of
load of
course.
staff to build a bug hotel. And those sorts of engagement pieces are quite nice to get people involved.
No, I really as well. I really like the initiative that you said there. When an academy player comes through and then you plant trees. I mean, it's great because you're achieving on both sides there, and I think that makes it a really fun way of doing it as well. Because a lot of the time, I think you'll probably agree, this conversation is kind of shunned by people because it can be seen to be either something that's either unachievable because it's quite a large task, or it's something where they just don't want to listen. And I think with football as well, that's been a bit of a problem where, of course, we all kind of use football as an escapism when we're talking about the actual game. But outside of how big it is, there's obviously a lot of things going on there where, we to get to watching the game, there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
And I just kind of really, to conclude, wanted to touch on your thoughts of where do you think sport in general, and either specifically football or sport in general, can go next in kind of transitioning to a better future? Obviously, you guys have taken these steps over the last few years. Where would you like to go next, and where do you think broadly sport could go?
Well, obviously, our relationships with our partners is so important there. I mean, our most recent away kit was launched live from a beach clean with a piece about plastic pollution, and our players wearing shirts made from recycled plastics, and using that commercial opportunity to talk about our new shirts, and aren't they fantastic? But also educating about recycling plastics to make other things with them, and also the issue of plastic pollution in and around Southampton. So those sorts of things I think sport will be doing a lot more of. We'll see a lot more of those appearances where commercial opportunities will be in alignment with sustainability initiatives. So I think that will be quite impactful. Another thing will be, sport has the risk of being already directly impacted by by climate change. So you've got, even on the cricket pitch and in tennis, heat exhaustion, players dropping like flies, completely waterlogged grassroots pitches. I can't remember the stat, but the amount of games that were called off because of the pitches being unplayable because of these heavy rainfalls. And actually, if we turn the attention to St Mary's Stadium, here where I'm sat right now, we have a risk of being partially, if not totally, flooded by 2050 through the rising sea levels. We're right next to the sea. This is a real problem for sport. And if people love sport, love going to watch sport or play sport, the risk from climate change is so great to affecting the ability for the sport to continue to be played, that we all have a responsibility to make a change there and to really spread that message. So I can see sports, especially as they become more impacted over the future years, to take a lot more of a stance on it. I think the opportunity, for example, if I look at the Premier League, the opportunity is for clubs to work collaboratively on joint initiatives, environmental awareness games, combined initiatives, joining up partners if there's partners across more than one club. And there's so much impact that can be had with the right messaging going out and influencing other people to really open their eyes and understand more. Having said that, our fans, I think on a recent, I think it was u.gov, but there was a recent article where 48% of Southampton FC fans identified themselves as keen environmentalists. And although there's still room for improvement there, that's actually top of all of the football clubs in the league. I think we were joint top with Burnley, but that's a really positive stat for us. You think if our fans already care about this, that gives us a real great platform to build upon and continue to bring the fans on the journey. So the power of sport and the responsibility we have is going to be really crucial in the coming few seasons, I think.
I think you're definitely right there, and it's been great speaking to you. Thanks so much for coming on. Just to end of season prediction. Where's Southampton going to finish?
Top eight.
Top eight. Okay. No European football this year for the Saints, but maybe next year. Thanks so much for coming on and talking to us. Have a great day.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And you. Bye.